Recording in progress.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. I guess I'm the first one.
You are, yeah. Do your thing. Be safe.
Yes. I was thinking I'm not gonna make it.
You are not the only student that I've seen driving in a car.
Oh my goodness. I know, it's crazy.
It'll happen. Are your kids going back this week?
All my kids are back.
Oh, great. Oh, good.
They've been so long. It's been already more than a month. They are back to school, but
Oh, okay.
April 12th, it's going to be like a full day. So they're going to be there from 8:30 till almost 3 o'clock, which I'm very excited.
What school district?
It's a Dry Creek School.
Okay. It's maybe it's Sacramento Unified that's going to start, I think, next week. They're coming back 2 days a week or something. A lot of
Yeah.
students, a lot of our ESL students in Sacramento, I think their kids are going back this week.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm very excited. It's not
Yeah.
only for me, it's for them mostly.
It's true.
Yeah, because they enjoy it.
Hey everybody, I see people coming in. Nadia, I saw you. I feel like you do. I want to be lying down on the couch right now too. Who else did I see? Nasima's here. Hi Nasima. Fauzia. Hi you guys. And Angela's here too.
Hi, Professor.
Come here.
How are you?
I've been a little bit sick this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm doing my best. I have a doctor's appointment after class today, so. But I'm okay, doing my best, like so many of you guys. We're doing our best.
Do you have elderberries?
Say again.
Do you have elderberries?
Elderberries. I don't know. I could.
Yeah.
One is good, good cure.
Yeah, those are really good when you're sick. You know, it boosts your immune system and it helps to fight, you know, whatever you have very easy and, you know, recover quick. Those are really good. That's what I always
Lots of
use.
tea.
And also,
Usually I do coffee, but I've got lots of tea and honey and lemon and all that stuff, you know.
yes, green tea or a green tea with mint tea, you know, the combination with the lemon honey squished inside. It's really good too.
Lots of citrus, what else?
Combo.
Lots of vegetables. When I get sick, I like
yeah.
lots of like soup, cabbage, and onion. All those type of vegetables are the things that I like the most.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, more people coming in. Oh, I saw Angela. Hi, everybody. We'll wait another minute or two, just like usual. But we got a smaller group today, but we'll see. You guys ready for more paraphrasing fun? Silence.
It depends what kind of the context is.
It is not going to be, today we're not going to practice why translation matters. We're going to go more to articles. And like I said, this week and next week is getting you ready for when we get back from spring break for hyperfocus and writing more college sort of, you know, what would I call it? It's not science, but it's not research exactly, but that type of writing. So that's what we're going to look at today. Fazia, it depends. Hi, Nadia. I see you in the chat there. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I think paraphrasing is one of those things, though, that you just have to do. Like you could listen to me talk about it, but you know what I mean? Like you just have to do it at a certain point. Cherie. Oh my goodness. More people in the chat. Angela says, yes, it's so interesting. Facepalm. Interesting is a nice word to use to describe paraphrasing. And Reina says, hi. Hi, Reina.
Have you checked our narrative assignment?
No, as you probably know, that's what I can show the slide now. My first announcement here is about grades. So yeah, like I said, this week I just have not been myself. So again, I have to apologize. I hate it, but I will do it as soon as possible. I guess more people are coming in now, so I'll wait a second before I answer your question, Fauzia. I'll just leave the announcement up since I know many students will have the same exact question. I've got more than half of them done though, which is good. But then yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday, yesterday, this week, I just felt so bad. Angela says, take your time. You're very kind. I promise not every student says, take your time. I was like that too when I was in school. It's like, gimme, gimme, gimme. I want my grade. Thank you. I appreciate it, Angela. All right, we'll wait maybe like 2 more minutes and then I'll get started and I'll answer Fauzia's great question.
It's okay.
Thank you. I
I
appreciate it. I hate when I'm 2 weeks, though, is too long for me. My rule in my own head is 2 weeks, so I apologize. I really do. I got kind of knocked out this week, though, for real. You are welcome. Oh, thank you. Paraphrasing is so interesting. Mir is repeating Angela's word. Interesting there. And hey, Layla.
Hi.
And Layla says hi in the chat, too. Week 9, you guys. We've been doing this more than 2 months. It's crazy to me. Crazy. All right. I'll get started. We've got a nice group here, about what, 12 or 13 people? Yeah. So a little smaller than usual, but still a good group. Hi, everybody. It's very nice to see you today on March 18th, 2021. I hope you are all doing well. Here's what we're going to do today. Today, I've got an announcement that I was just showing on the screen. And then we're going to do at the beginning here a little question and answer about paraphrasing. But really, most of today is to help you practice paraphrasing. So hopefully, if you're able to, you've got some paper or a pen, or you're able to type or write on your laptop or on your computer. Because really, today, I want to give you guys some time to practice paraphrasing and then look at real examples, just like we did at the end of class yesterday. So that's the focus for today. But first, my announcement, like I said, if you weren't here a moment ago, oh, excuse me, I've got the wrong title here. Right, so if you weren't here at the beginning, I was just saying this week I did not feel very well. And in fact, I've got a doctor's appointment right after this class. So I will have to, if you wanted to come to office hours today, I have to reschedule or send me a text or send me an email. So again, I'm really only talking to you guys who are here live with me. If you're watching the recording, office hours are probably over. But if you wanted to talk to me after class, please, please, please email me or text me. I am working tomorrow morning, so I will definitely be able to reply to your texts. But after class today, I've got an appointment. And because I didn't feel well, I was able to grade some of the shorter and smaller assignments, but I did not finish grading your first person narrative projects. Again, my apologies. I feel terrible. I appreciate your patience and people being nice about that. I did get a few messages or texts yesterday. So some people texted and said, Jeff, you gave me a 0 for, I'm talking about this announcement here, right? If you got a 0 for an assignment that you haven't done yet, right? Don't worry. Some people were texting me like, what's going on? There's no due date. And yes, you are absolutely correct. There is no due date, right? So if you got a 0 for a lesson you didn't do yet, you can still do that lesson anytime. In Canvas, I can see when you've submitted a lesson or a new assignment. So before the end of the semester, for sure, I will go back and grade those assignments. I just needed to get caught up with all of my grading. And I also needed to sort of see where everybody is before spring break, right? So that's all I wanted to say about that. So don't freak out. You've still got time. And if you submit something, I will give you the points for it. So that's my announcement about grading and me feeling like 60% of my usual, perfect self. Any questions about grading or anything on this slide before we start to talk about paraphrasing today?
Oh, thank you.
Perfect. Rafi says hi in the chat. Hi, Rafi. Great. So like I said, if you do have questions about anything, grades, assignments, or anything, please still feel free to send me a text or email. I will respond tomorrow. It's just after class today. I'm out today. I'm going to take care of myself. Cool. So then today is, even though I'm tired and, got kind of lower energy voice than usual, it is important because we're still talking about paraphrasing and this is going to be very important. So most of today, I'm going to sort of, what would I say, take us through, or there's this idiom like walk us through the paraphrasing process. We're going to look at a real article, an article that you're going to see again after the break. We're going to do more with it. But before we just do it, like I say in the slide here, before we just practice, what questions can I answer before we just jump in? Like what questions do you still have? And if not, we'll just jump in. Ooh, we're gonna jump. I'm ready, let's jump. So just a quick review then before I show you the article and we start to practice together here, right? So quick review from what we talked about on last Thursday. So remember, I'm not even gonna talk about this, we did this. I'm gonna just reinforce or restate the most important thing. Paraphrase is about restating all of the ideas in the text, whatever you are being asked to paraphrase or whatever you are choosing to paraphrase for a paper later, you are restating all of those ideas. So not just the main idea, but all of the ideas. A paraphrase is about the same length as the original text. So if you're paraphrasing a paragraph, your paraphrase should be about a paragraph long. A paragraph is specific, and it is specific because you are including all of the information from the thing that you are paraphrasing. And finally, a paraphrase clarifies ideas because the way you present them to the reader or to the listener, if you're paraphrasing something in speaking, you are explaining or restating things in a specific way because, right, like in a research paper or the final big project for this class, what you choose to paraphrase will say something important about the idea that you want to communicate, right? So think about this again, like imagine a month from now or 2 months from now in the future. If you have an assignment and the assignment says you need to write a paper where you have an opinion about the best way to, what would I say? Like, what would a classic research paper is usually like right now about the environment or something, right? Like here's the best way to protect the environment. Okay, that's fine, right? Like you can write that paper, but when you make your argument, right? When you say this is the best way, you're going to need to find proof, evidence, support for your own idea. So this is really where paraphrasing is going, you guys, right? Only in an ESL class will you have a lesson like the one I have in Canvas right now that says, paraphrase this paragraph. Why? Just paraphrase it to do it. Just paraphrase to paraphrase. In the future, you're only going to be paraphrasing ideas, articles, or books because you're going to use those ideas in your own paper, right? So if you have a thesis statement in a research paper, your paraphrase is going to help support your own ideas. And that's what I mean about clarify, right? You're choosing the thing to paraphrase because it helps clarify some idea, some argument, something that you're talking or writing about, okay? And again, just quick reminder here, paraphrasing Jeff's very short, 3 quick rules, same meaning, different words. So remember, do not try to paraphrase if you don't understand what you've read. Paraphrasing is the same length as your source and summarizing is shorter, and you should use different words and different sentence structure. These are my 3, remember, like sort of most simple, basic paraphrasing rules. Okay, so with this refresher, because what's going to happen next, you guys, is I'm going to show you an article and we're going to go through it. Before we look at the article, last call for questions about these ideas before we practice. Last call. Cool, let's do it. Okay, in the chat, I'm going to put a PDF. I'm going to project the PDF onto the screen as well. But if you guys want to read the article on your own computer or on your own phone, that's totally fine. Let me just drop this into the chat here. We are in 325. This will be a part of simulated response, and we are doing this one. Okay, it's uploading. So in the chat, you should see something that says file, the power of attention, Atchison 2019. So you can open that article right now if you like, or just follow along with me. So here's what we're going to do the first time. Remember, the first rule of paraphrasing is you have got to understand what you read. And so what I want to do is I'm going to project this article onto the screen. This is what we're going to read together, or you're going to, read on your own screen. But there's 2 things I want you to think about this first time that I read through the article for us, okay? One is, are there vocab words that we need to look up the meaning, okay? What are the vocab words? If there are vocab words we need to look up together, what are they? And 2, remember, I'm going to be careful here. I'm going to ask you, what's the main idea of this article? But remember, you're paraphrasing, it's not a summary. So I'm not asking you to identify the main idea because that's what you will write in your paraphrase. I'm asking you to think about the main idea for the article just to make sure that you understand what you read. Okay, so again, what we're looking for, vocab, if there's any vocab we need to look up together, and what's the main idea? Do you understand the article that we read? Does that make sense, what I want you to do while I read? You guys might be as tired as I am today. It's so quiet. Okay, I'll read through the article and then we will talk about it, and then it's going to be your turn to practice. Okay. So we've got this photo at the top. This comes from an online website, right? Not a newspaper, but like an online sort of magazine, online newspaper article. So here's our picture. The headline says, "The power of attention. The right focus will take you all the way." Here's the author, Dr. Pat Etchison. It starts with this quote from the actor Keanu Reeves. "So the simple act of paying attention can take you a long way." Keanu Reeves. So what's the one thing that we all need? It's not money or success or even love. It comes before any of those things and is the most valuable resource on earth, the unobtainium of modern times. Companies spend millions to get and keep it. People will give anything for it, including their lives. Strangely enough, we all have an abundant supply of this resource, yet we commonly squander it and then wonder why we're not seeing the results we want. It's time to pay attention to attention. A focused perspective. Quote, "We're like a gardener with a hose and our attention is water. We can water flowers or we can water weeds." Quote from Josh Radnor. Every second you're alive, you are bombarded by information. Your brain processes 11 million bits of information per second. In 2011, Researchers estimated that the average American was bombarded with 34 gigabytes of information equivalent to 100,000 words daily during their leisure time. This tsunami of data is overwhelming and it's increasing. Your conscious brain can process only 50 bits per second. So how can you make sense of all the data? The brain uses amazing abilities to process multiple inputs in parallel. It makes mental models to classify what it detects and respond appropriately. An elite tennis player can track a tennis ball moving at over 150 miles an hour, move their body to intercept its course, raise their arm, and hit the ball in order to return it where they choose. All this happens in milliseconds. Even more important is what the tennis player doesn't respond to. The ache of an injured muscle, a plane overhead, someone sneezing in the front row. These are all ignored. If they're not, the player will fail to react in time and therefore miss the shot in an unforced error. The player pays detailed attention to the inputs that matter in order to play a good game. In return, they receive applause, admiration, and money. The money only follows because they've proved that they can command the attention of others. So attention is valuable both to give and to receive. So what can you do with yours? A question of priorities. The ability to focus attention on important things is a defining characteristic of intelligence, a quote from Robert J. Schiller. So we all know talented people who rested on their laurels. In time, their talent or physical advantage was overtaken by someone who started out with less but worked for more. The merely talented will find that you can't bank potential. And as time passes, they find themselves looking back on their bright future. A person with good skills can become great. They must honestly evaluate their output, define what they need to work on, and then execute the plan. The saying that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard is really all about attention. When there are so many shiny things clamoring for attention, it's easy to forget what's important in favor of what's easy. You can't figure out that scene in your book, so you go down a YouTube rabbit hole. You can't face that difficult conversation, so you go to Facebook instead. And when you finally look up, an hour has passed. Procrastination bugs all of us. Procrastination is misdirected attention. You know what you need to do, but bypass it in favor of something you don't need to do. There is a better way. 1, stop your displacement activity and put your phone in another room. 2, make a list of the things you must do on paper. 3, underline the top 3 priorities. 4, start on number 1 using the Pomodoro technique to break it into manageable chunks. And 4, cross off each item when complete. So maybe your number 1 thing is the thing that you can't face that gives you a feeling of dread every time you think of it. Consider this. Have you ever got a piece of music stuck in your head? You just can't stop thinking about it. This is the Zeigarnik effect. The brain remembers unfinished tasks and then brings them to conscious recall frequently so they can be completed. The task doesn't go away. You're reminded of it frequently, and each time it consumes emotional energy. You also experience associated emotions like fear, anxiety, dread, shame, and so on each time. You might think you're avoiding it, but it's right there with you. You're spending precious mental and emotional bandwidth with zero return. Choose to direct your attention to completing unpleasant jobs first. See how much lighter you feel when you eat the frog. And when you achieve something difficult, the sense of personal power carries over into other areas of your life. Inquire within. Keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your own concern, and be clear that what belongs to others is their business and none of yours, a quote from Deepak Chopra. In family practice, I regularly met older women whose lives were full of drama. The problem was it wasn't their drama. They wept and raged over the supposed sins of adult children and the families they'd built, never seeing that those actions were no longer their responsibility. I wanted to ask, why does this matter so much to you? Why not live and let live? Much of modern culture is based on other people's drama. Celebrity worship, sensational headlines, and fake outrage are all given life by people paying attention to the wrong things. Although envy can be fuel for your dreams, too often it is a black hole that sucks away the energy needed to change. Other people's success or supposed good fortune has nothing to do with yours. Why give away your energy? External drama can be a useful distraction from issues you need to work on in your own life, far easier to project onto and then vilify others for the faults you can't accept or remedy in yourself. Pay attention to people's behaviors and attitudes that make you angry or annoyed. When we catch sight of our faults reflected in others, we're inclined to break the mirror to protect our own self-image. Instead, figure out what deep-seated wound of yours lies behind your judgment that someone is selfish or arrogant or unworthy. Pluck the beam from your own eye. You might find you've more empathy for the speck in the eye of another. An inner vision. The moment one gives close attention to anything, even a blade of grass, it becomes a mysterious, awesome, indescribably magnificent world in itself. Quote from Henry Miller. So while you're applying attention to your dreams and working on your weaker areas, remember to spare a little empathy for yourself. Life is often a struggle, and finding peace in the middle of it is no easy task. Mindfulness seems to offer a solution. Mindfulness meditation has exploded in popularity, like many ideas which are easy to package as beneficial to all. But there's a catch. It is simple, but not easy. Meditation is directed attention. It's not emptying the mind, which is impossible. It is focusing attention on one point, like the breath or a candle flame, while allowing all other thoughts to pass by. A chant or prayer is simply a focusing device, a place for your attention to rest and return to when your mind wanders, as it inevitably will. When these thoughts arise, note them and let them go. Now, there are many benefits claimed for meditation, but in a world that bombards you with information and forces you to process, filter, and make more decisions than ever, perhaps the main gift is a few minutes of peace. A brain is an amazing machine, but it needs downtime. Meditation and sleep in the closet is the closest we can get to switching it off and on again without using drugs. What are you looking at? Pay attention to what you pay attention to. That's pretty much all the info you need from Amy Krauss Rosenthal. Now, in a hyper-connected world, the battle for your precious attention is waged on two fronts. External inputs fight for your notice before internal processes define what you filter out and focus on. The decisions you make determine your happiness and level of success. So define your priorities, work on them in order, set boundaries on the scope of your attention, reserve some attention for self-care. Direct your attention with intention. It's a limited resource, so allocate yours wisely. Okay. Long article, but not crazy long, right? Like, you know, we're gonna read a book that's much longer than this. So let's just talk about it before we talk about vocab main ideas. Just what first thoughts, anything, any kind of response. What'd you like? What'd you not like? What'd you notice? What you think? Just any response at all. Please.
I think there was a different sentences, but the main point was the attention, the focus, like the responsibility.
Okay. Interesting. Really nice. Susanna says focus, attention, and responsibility. And can I ask you, Susanna, where is the responsibility, or what is the responsibility?
I think when it was talking about like a tennis player or football player,
Tennis.
you know, that you gotta be, you know, I don't exactly remember, like a can you go there so I can read?
Sure, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just checking the chat too. So if you guys keep typing in the chat, I'll read whatever you type in the chat, I'll read it, but let me just do one thing at a time. Thank you. Susan, here it is. What is it? The tennis player.
Is that
Where did it start here? Hold on.
it's
Here it is.
tsunami?
In elite tennis player. That's where it starts. That part about the tennis player.
Would you please highlight it? I can't see it.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you. Oh yes. So it was talking about important that what is that thing? Oh, it's like the player pays detailed attention to the inputs that matter in order to play a good game. In return, they receive applause, admiration, and money. The money only flows because they're proved that they can command the attention of others. So how to command the attention to others? I was thinking, if you're a good player, your attention is concentrated on being good in it. It's kind of being responsible.
Cool. No, I love it. I think the other thing I love, good. Susanna, sort of that idea here about commanding the attention of the audience, that's even kind of another level that the author is talking about. That's even a different level than those sentences that emphasize, okay, the tennis player, to be a great tennis player has to choose what is important and what's not important, right? What do I focus on? What do I not focus on? What's important? What's not important? And I do think this is a really nice and hopefully a more clear part of the article, right? Because the author's using specific examples, right? If the tennis player's outside, there's a plane overhead. Well, great athletes or sometimes you don't even, and we all do this. This happens for parents all the time, you guys, right? Like there could be 20 things happening, but like parents know this is the most important thing, right? Where do I put my attention? And I think that's like the tennis player, right? Like, okay, there's a plane overhead. I can hear sound. Someone's talking in the audience, but you can tune it all out, right? Like I'm not paying attention to any of that. So I think this is a nice example, like Susanna was saying about choosing, right? Where does my attention go? I think that's an important idea.
Why kind of stick with me because I was a piano player, so I was attending concerts, and when I was doing the concerts, a lot of people in audience and they are talking, sometimes there is a phone ringing and a lot of conversation and things, and if you are concentrated and if you're ready on something, you're not paying attention, you're just leaving those, it's left out. So you are concentrated on the thing that you're gonna do, and you gotta do it 100%. So I kind of related to that.
Nice example, Susanna. And again, that's like the tennis example. I think everybody in this class probably can, even if you've never played the piano, right? That's a great example. I'm on stage, I'm playing the piano, a phone goes off in the audience. I mean, it's hard, right? The phone is, you have to really focus your attention, because if you don't, you're just like distracted or you get angry or whatever happens, you know what I mean? I love that example too. People in the chat, Rafi was saying it's a great topic, but I can't follow completely. Well, if you like this topic, don't worry, because hyperfocus is a lot of these ideas. This is like an introduction to some of these ideas about focus and time management and the power of your attention and all of those ideas. And then Reina says, for me, it's interesting. I understood our mind is capable of so much, but we often don't use its capabilities to act efficiently. Very interesting, Reina. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if that specific idea, for paraphrasing, Reina, I don't know if the author says that exactly, but I think for you to understand that or sort of like take that meaning from the article is really nice, really makes perfect sense. Good. Anybody else, things you thought or felt or noticed before we talk about paraphrasing? Anybody? Cool. Okay, any vocab words that we need to look at?
Yes, for me, procrastinating.
Okay, great. Very important word.
I understood it when we are doing the things in, let's see, I write something about that. Oh, it's when we wait until the last minute.
Ooh, nice. Okay. And that's good. That's another important idea, but I'll show that here's the definition at Learner's Dictionary, right? So procrastinate, it says to be slow or late about doing something that should be done. And then this is another important idea, right? To delay doing something until a later time because you don't want to do it, right? And this is another, but I would add, like the article says, okay, if you have some homework that you are supposed to do for a class, but you don't want to do it, and instead, I think there's that example about Facebook, or you watch a YouTube video or something. Usually procrastinate means doing something that is easy and that you want to do instead of doing something that's hard that you don't want to do, but maybe you should do, or you probably should do. Does that make sense, Reina?
Yes.
Yeah, procrastinate and procrastination is the noun. Procrastination is like, oh man, when I was teaching composition at UC Davis, they like the textbook that they made us use, there was like a whole chapter about procrastination. It's like a big, important idea for many, many college students, right? It's like, use your time wisely, don't procrastinate, you know, like, don't waste time. So this idea is popular. It's a popular idea, procrastinate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, great. And really important to this idea, like Susanna was saying, the main idea about attention and focus and choosing and some of those big, big ideas. Yeah. Anybody else? Vocab words.
Excuse me, Professor,
Yep.
Pomodoro technique. What kind of technique is
Oh
it?
yeah, there's, okay, so great question. So most online newspaper articles now, you see, again, don't worry about this today. We're going to spend more time talking about this later. And when you go to 340, you will definitely talk about this. But the way that this article is citing things, because it's online, is to just put links to things, right? So these underlined words, they are links to other websites. So this is like a link about the Pomodoro technique. And I can put this in that, well, you have the article now, but I'll put it in the chat too. The Pomodoro technique is a very specific sort of strategy for how to be more productive when people are doing homework or learning something new. It's if you look at this website, it will look familiar to some of the reading strategies that I had you guys practice, but it's not the same thing, right? But it's that same idea, Fausia. This is a specific strategy to help people when they're doing homework to get to go faster and understand more. And that's what the Pomodoro technique is, Fausia.
Okay.
Very specific. So if you're interested in it, take a look. I don't teach the Pomodoro technique, but like I said, I am going to talk about reading strategies in a minute here because you know, active learning and making a plan for your learning is very important. So that's what she's talking about in this part of the article. She's definitely suggesting, clearly, you know, she likes the Pomodoro technique. She's telling everybody who reads the article to use it. Yeah. Any other vocab words?
I noticed about another word that is bandwidth.
Good. And bandwidth is kind of being used a little bit like a metaphor here. Does anybody has anybody seen this? I'll put this in the PowerPoint too. Has anybody seen this or know what it is?
I don't have idea.
Good. Let's say, what was the first word we did? Pomodoro technique. A specific learning strategy for time management. Procrastinate. Great word. Well, I'll say that's the verb procrastinate. Yeah, often procrastinate is a synonym for wasting time because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Good. Now that we've got those two written down. Bandwidth. Yeah. So this is a metaphor or kind of like an idiom, right? Because when we talk about bandwidth, where this originally came from, Reina, was like an internet network, right? So bandwidth usually just means the total amount of speed available to a computer, right? So like a computer has only a specific amount of bandwidth, right? So that's where this came from. So now, like, but if the internet, for example, if people, everybody's had this problem with slow internet, right? Like you're trying to watch a video or you're trying to text a friend or something, and it's going so slow, right? And that's because there's too much data, too much information for that bandwidth. And so because we started to use that with technology, now people will use that to talk about their own thinking or their energy, their memory. Maybe people will say like, hey, for example, like I could say just for, I could have said at the beginning of class, I really wanted to finish grading all of your papers, but I felt sick this week, so I didn't have the bandwidth, right? It just means like, I feel like usually I have 100% bandwidth, but sometimes I only have 70% or 50%. So that's the way they're using it in this article. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
So it's kind of like what, capacity or amount, a total possible amount.
Space of,
Yeah. Can be for computers or humans now. Now we're using it to talk about ourselves. Yeah, great example. There was one other word that she used, I think 3 times that I wanted to talk about. If you guys didn't see it, and that is, what is it, barrage? What did she say? Oh, bombarded. Did you guys see this word? To bombard.
Like a lot of ideas or no?
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. I'm checking the chat too. Sudeba says hi. Hi, Sudeba. Yeah, bombard is great. And really, like many, again, kind of like an idiom, kind of like a metaphor here. This literally comes from war, like bombard, like bombs.
Yeah.
So the idea is like in a war, lots of bombs being dropped. So this word now, when we use it to say, oh, I'm getting bombarded with information or ideas, it's like, ooh, here's some information. Or I always think about this like on the internet, right? It's like a commercial, a picture commercial, a YouTube video ad. Like I feel like when I'm on the internet, I'm getting bombarded with advertisements all day, every day, right? Like nonstop things coming at me.
Like saturated or
yes, saturated is nice, right? And Angela's saying you've got the same word in Farsi. So maybe, yeah, you've got this same similar word or synonym to give you that feeling of like non-stop information, right? Let's see if we can get a even clear. Oh, and here it just says, yeah, often used figuratively. And that's what I mean by like a metaphor or an idiom, right? So he's being bombarded by offers. He's getting so many offers. Here's mine, for real. We are constantly being bombarded by advertisements. That's how I feel about driving on the 80 in Sacramento. Like, oh my God, just no more billboards. I don't want to see any more advertisements. Yeah, so that's what she says by, with technology, we are bombarded with information, all the time. All the time. Good. Any other vocab words people wanted to talk about?
There was a sentence like eat a frog. It is an expression.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's some British English in here, Fauzi, and I think that's a British. Let's look at it. We'll just look at an example again of, these are like citations, right? So on the website, this is like inviting you, oh, click this thing. So yeah, choose to direct, here's where it says, choose to direct your attention to completing the unpleasant job. See how much lighter you feel after you eat the frog. I'm going to click it and let's find out. It's got to be an idiom though, Fauzi. I have a feeling I'll give you the American version of it here if we can get this opened. Eat the frogs first thing in the morning. It's being really slow, so I'm just going to show. I think Eat the frog. Get it over with. Has anyone heard this expression in English? Bite the bullet. Has anyone ever seen that? Bite the bullet and this is the very normal, common, you could hear this in California tomorrow. This is a totally common idiom, but bite the bullet means get it over with, just do it. And I'm gonna guess that eat the frog is like a British version of this, right? So if I'm talking to a friend and I'm like, oh my God, I don't wanna do this, I'm so tired, they're like, hey, Jeff, bite the bullet, just do it, get it over with, right? So I think that's the way she's using eat the frog in this article, Fauzia. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
And I have another question. The metaphor that you wrote about, it reminded me another question. When we, if we want to paraphrase a literature tax or a literary tax, there is a lot of metaphor in another literary industry. So we have to paraphrase all of them, or what? How we can do this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'll just again say at 325 level, sometimes you just won't understand like we're going to read hyperfocus, right? Or even in a map is only one country. We've already read it. I'm sure there were some idioms in there that just you guys haven't learned yet, right? So even more than just saying, here's a list of 3,000 idioms to memorize, I think this is why we talk about, for paraphrasing for sure, but also even in summarizing and some of the reading strategies that I try to suggest to you guys. And again, I'm going to talk about one right now because it's okay, even if I don't know exactly what this idiom means, or I've never heard this idiom before, can I kind of guess what the meaning is just from the context of the article right now? And that's a reading skill, right? That's hard, right? But again, this is why at the beginning of the semester, I'm saying, well, even if you don't understand every single word in a book, you kind of have to just keep going, because if you stop every time you don't understand a word or an idiom, it never ends. You know what I mean? So I think you kind of have to just guess from context. And then the last thing, that it's not nice, it's not fun to feel it. And like I said, when I have this feeling in Spanish, I hate it. But like, can I just accept, you know what? I don't know what the heck the author is talking about there. And I'm going to just focus on the main idea. Now, you're exactly correct. When it comes to paraphrasing, that's a big challenge. Because like I said, you can't paraphrase what you don't understand. So if there's an idiom in there that you can't understand, maybe you can't paraphrase it. And instead, right, again, just sort of getting you ready for after spring break and really getting you ready for W340 or English 300, if you know that a sentence is important, but for you guys, for us, right, for ESL students, but you really can't understand the cultural meaning, maybe just quote it, right? Don't worry about putting it in your own words. Just put it in quotes and cite it appropriately in your essay. Does that make sense?
Yes, but when we don't understand what is the meaning of this, but it is not good for us. And if we guess, maybe our guess be wrong.
I know, you're right. Yeah, that you're right. And that's why, again, at least in this class, I try not to punish students, you know, with language learning, especially, you guys already know this, I say this all the time, but with language learning, you have to make mistakes. And that's why I don't like ESL classes with lots of tests, because like you have to make mistakes, you have to make the mistakes to learn. But you're right, for another class or an English 300 class, if you feel like, oh, I'm just guessing and maybe another teacher will, you know, punish you or give you a bad grade. I agree, Fauzia. It's a very unique challenge for students like you guys who are high level, doing amazing work and reading sort of difficult English language texts. You're right, idioms are really challenging. And I wish I could tell you, like I said, like the perfect solution, but sometimes you do just have to guess. And in real life, where there's not going to be a grade, probably won't be a problem. But in other classes, just hopefully the teacher understands and is a real human being, you know. Not a perfect answer, Fauzia, but I think that's just kind of the
Thank you.
reality,
Perfect.
you know. I wish I could just like wave my hand and like now, Fauzia, you know every idiom in English, but it, you know, it's a lifelong process.
Yeah, and difficult.
I know, I know. Okay, any other, I want to talk about, I want to get ready. So it's almost time for you guys to start writing. Any other questions about specific words or specific idioms or anything else in the article that I can answer before we talk about, okay, let's say you want to paraphrase some part of this article, what do you do next? So any last vocab questions? Okay, so the last thing I want to introduce today, really quickly, I've got a whole PowerPoint about it after spring break when we read Hyperfocus. But one thing that is a reading strategy, right, that we haven't just talked about reading faster, which we've talked a lot about already this semester, but now, okay, this is like I was saying to Fauzia, let's say you think you're reading an article like this and you're like, ooh, this feels important. I'm not sure what the meaning of this is, but it feels really important. So what do you do and how can you use a strategy to kind of understand the meaning of an article or a story or a book or whatever? Well, right away, what you'll notice in nonfiction, right, in research articles or in books like Hyperfocus, you get up here, right at the beginning, just like in A Map is Only One Story, just like in fiction stories, we get a title, right? But then for the rest of the article, we also get these things right here, right? Where it says a focused perspective, or where it says a question of priorities, or inquire within. Do you guys know what, there's a word for those phrases. Do you know what they're called? I'm gonna make a new slide here. But like I said, I've got a whole presentation about this, so don't worry about this too much, but okay, so this header. So again, what you notice is this article, and no article you ever read, it's not like a 5-paragraph essay, right? It's not like an ESL textbook. It's not just introduction, body, conclusion, right? You get all the information broken up into these different parts. You know, sometimes students, when I show them this article, like, Jeff, what is going on? Like, there's no introduction paragraph. It's just one sentence, one sentence, one sentence. Oh my God, what's going on? And that's true, right? Lots of different writing can be organized in different ways. So when you see an article or a hyperfocus that looks like this, important, these headers, right? This is like a phrase that is between 2 paragraphs. This is telling us really important information. This is basically saying, okay, everything underneath this header is about this idea, right? So this header is telling us, okay, these paragraphs here, right, are about this idea of a focused perspective, right? And even here, if you look at reading strategies, we also get something that's called this is called an introductory or an introduction quote, right? So the author here has used a header, a focused perspective, and then gives us a quote. And you notice that the structure, we've talked about structure a lot. You're going to talk about structure again after the break. You notice that the author has used a very specific structure here in this article, right? She does header and then introduction quote. And notice she does the same thing, header, introduction quote. Down here, header, introduction quote, right? So even if you know, I'm doing this very quickly, right? Like an article like this, you'd probably spend, 30 or 45 minutes reading. But again, even before you go through reading the article, you can look at the header, right? Look at the header. If you see, wow, okay, this article has a lot of headers. Look at the introduction quote. Also, look what she does twice here. If you look at the structure of this essay, what do we see here? When Fauzi was talking about Pomodoro technique, what's unique about this structure right here? Does anybody know what these are called? Layla says no. Oh, I feel like I really am able to teach you. If you don't know what these are called, at least you'll learn one thing that's very valuable from this class for the rest of your life. This is called bullet points. Right, and bullet points are anytime you see a list, anytime you see those little dots, right? So that idea of, excuse me, points, these are these little black dots here, you guys, these are the bullet points, right? Or a list that sometimes they're numbered, right? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And this author does bullet points twice, right? Here at the end, even ending with bullet points, right? So I'm going to say reading strategies for articles or nonfiction. So again, and in hyperfocus, we're going to talk about, well, what if the article or the book has charts or graphs or presents data with an image or a picture, right? This is all a part of academic writing structure. That's not just the 5-paragraph essay, but even within this structure, right? So even before I ask you guys to write like this, even before I ask you to practice writing this type of structure, I want you to understand that for your reading skills, right? Like Fauzia was saying, I don't know what this idiom is. What am I doing? I'm just guessing, kind of. And one way to help you make a good guess is to look at these headers and introduction quotes and bullet points, because that is really like the author's way of saying, like, these paragraphs are about this idea, right? Or like, this is the main idea of this. And again, you could think about this, compare it to the function of topic sentence, body paragraph, right? Topic sentence is basically telling the reader, hey, this paragraph is going to be about this topic, and then everything below it supports the topic sentence, right? You could think of headers in the same way, right? Like a header and the introduction quote should tell you information about what comes in the rest of that section. So if you look at, again, that part about the tennis player that Susanna was talking about a minute ago. So here and let's just look at the header and the quote. A focused perspective. We are like a gardener with a hose, and our attention is water. We can water flowers or we can water weeds. Now, again, I'm just sort of asking you, just with that header and that quote, what meaning do you get from that, right? We've already read the article, but what could you say? Like, we could make a prediction, or we understand, okay, wow, based on that header and based on that quote, this section of the article will be about what? I mean, you already know because you read the article. So someone tell me, what's this part of the article about?
About the water?
Okay, what's going on with the water, Fazia? Why is that image, or why is that quote important? What is it saying?
Water, the flowers, house, weeds, everything need the water.
Good. Somebody else tell me more. Give me a couple.
I think attention is for the flower and weed.
Good. Even more, what Katima said there that's really important is attention, right? I'm happy that Katima said attention is like, even from this header, right? We understand, oh, okay, the author's going to write about attention. That's in the quote here, right? Our attention is water, right? And how about even here, even in just this header, we only have 3 words. Someone tell me, what's the most important word in that phrase?
Perspective. Perspective.
A focused perspective, a focused perspective. So is this about your perspective, or is it about focusing?
Focusing.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Yes, I disagree. I agree with Khatima. I think this is about focusing. This is about choosing, right? And that's what that quote about the garden hose is, right? If your attention is like water, well, if you choose to put water on the weeds are going to grow. If you choose to put water on the flowers are going to grow. So what she's saying here, even in just the header and the quote, we can sort of start to get this feeling of like, okay, so this part of the article is about focus and attention and where do I choose to focus, and then we have this weeds and flowers. Maybe I don't really know what that is, but what would be an example of a flower for my attention or a weed for my attention? Again, we don't really know, right? But I'm suggesting, or I'm saying really, right? Like Susanna's example about the tennis player. In the example of the tennis player, focusing on the other player, focusing on the ball, focusing on, I don't know, his feet or something, those would be the flowers, right? If you're paying attention to those things, great. But if you're paying attention to someone coughing in the stands or a plane overhead or your elbow hurts, if that's where your focus is, if that's where your attention is going, then you might be watering the weeds, right? You might be watering the weeds. So again, I'm not expecting you guys to be perfect at this when I'm asking you to think about it, but I am telling you, any article like this with headers, quotes, bullet points, these headers, quotes, and bullet points, man, they are going to have very important information for you when you're reading. So if you read this section and you're like, I don't know what this was about, go back to the header, right? Go back to an introduction quote and ask yourself, okay, so what is this? You know what I mean? Because that will really help your reading to understand, right? And like I said, I know I'm talking a lot about reading right now, but again, that's because you can't paraphrase if you don't understand what you read. Any questions about headers and this very fast and short introduction to this reading strategy? Because like I said, when we talk about hyperfocus, we're going to practice this idea of headers and data, images, pictures, graphs. We're going to get more practice with this in the future. But does this start to make a little bit of sense? Any questions about this? Okay. So then here's what I want us to do. I want to go to a second part. I don't want to paraphrase this focus perspective. We just talked about this. Yes, this is what I wanted to talk about. This one. Actually, I want to start here. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do now, and I'm going to give you some time, and then we're going to look at it together. I want to ask you to paraphrase this part of the essay, right? And I'll tell you right now, this is class. Your paraphrase will probably be shorter than these sentences. So if you're not able to write a full paragraph right now, that's fine. But this is the part of the article that I want you to paraphrase right now in class. So again, I'm asking you to paraphrase this part. Let's go back up and look at the header here, because I want to make sure we understand this before I set you free to write. So here the header says, a question of priorities. And then we have another introductory quote, and it says, the ability to focus attention on important things is a defining characteristic of intelligence. So again, I'll just open it up. What's going on? You're practicing this reading strategy now. What do we, just from the header and that quote, what's an important idea in this part of the essay? What's the most important word in the header?
I think the characteristic of intelligence.
Oh, okay, good.
Intelligence.
Good. Stay with me, Reina. And even just here, just in the header, a question of priorities. What's the most important word there?
Priorities.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely think, okay, in the header, it's like priorities. Okay, priorities. And then in the quote, and Reina, you can jump back in here, the ability to focus attention on important things is a defining characteristic of intelligence. So yes, intelligence is a key idea, Reina. How does this idea of priorities and intelligence, how are they connected? in this quote?
Let's see.
Oh, good. Do we need to look up priorities? Reina's got a head start because it's basically the same meaning in Spanish.
Priority is the first thing for this is that pay attention in important things.
Well, exactly. Oh, and you just said it, and that's in the quote here, right? To important things. So we all have priorities. Maybe we have 20 priorities in a day, right? Priorities, the things I want to do, what's important to me to do. Well, okay, if you have 20 priorities, there's a number one priority, right? There's the most important priority. Then there's number two, number three, number four. So someone maybe help Reina. She's being brave and talking for everybody. Does anyone want to help Reina, or Reina, if you want to? What's this connection? Even just in the header and in the quote here. What's the connection between priorities and intelligence? Because you're right, that idea of intelligence is important here. How are they connected? I'll read the quote again. The ability to focus attention on important things is a defining characteristic of intelligence. What's the connection? What do intelligent people do?
Ability.
Okay. What ability?
Focus attention on important things.
Aha. Focus on what type of things?
Focus.
And focus on what type of things? Important things?
Attention. Important things.
Yeah, and that's the idea here. Important or kind of important, right? You know what I mean? Like this idea is, okay, so Susanna was saying in the first example above that we talked about, it's about choice, right? It's about where you put your attention, right? What are you watering? Remember, like the water example, right? So now this section is going to talk about, well, if you really want to become more successful or become more intelligent, you have to be able to choose, right? It's not just, oh, if you water good things happen. If you water bad things happen. It's like, okay, that's just true. Now we need to talk about, you need to choose the good things, right? You need to choose the right priorities, the most important things for where to put your attention. And then of course the idea is that's what intelligent people do. I'm checking the chat. People are leaving by you. People who have to leave by. Sherry's talking about skills. Absolutely right. So an important skill is choosing where to put your attention, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. Okay, Reina says yes. Anybody, if it does not make sense, stop me and we can talk about it. Good. Sherry says yes. Okay, so now we're only going to look at a part of this, right? So we've looked at the header, we've looked at the quote, we have some idea, okay, everything after this header is about this idea of choosing and priorities and intelligence, but I'm only asking you to summarize here at the end. So let's go through that together, make sure you understand the ideas. Okay, so just this part of the article says, have you ever got a piece of music stuck in your head? You just can't stop thinking about it. This is the Zeigarnik effect. The brain remembers unfinished tasks and brings them to conscious recall frequently so they can be completed. Let's just look at this sentence. Somebody, because remember to paraphrase, we've got to understand the meaning. What's this mean? You guys are so quiet today. I'm tired too.
It's not easy.
Oh no, it's very hard, but that's why I make you do it in class, because if I just say do it on your own, I know what happens. People don't do it.
The brain.
Or let's do this. If this is too much, if it's like literally everyone has their video off, and that's totally fine. But put this in the chat then, if you're listening to me and you can. How about I give you 2 minutes? And so instead of people feeling like they have to unmute or talk, if you can, type in the chat and just try to paraphrase in your own words. What's the meaning of this? This isn't even well, this is kind of a sentence, but what's the meaning here? What's it saying? I'll give you 2 minutes to try and paraphrase the meaning of this sentence.
Our brain is
very smart.
Yeah, the brain is very smart. It definitely is. It definitely is. But why, Nadia? Do you want to practice out loud, Nadia, or you want to type?
I don't understand.
Do you? I'm asking. Do you want to keep talking, or do you just want to start typing?
No, I thought.
Okay, talk. Tell me. So the brain is very smart. I agree, but why? This is a specific example of how the brain is smart. So what is the brain doing? What is the author telling us?
Oh, our brain do very interesting things when it remember, when it remember it's long time and short time remember.
True, that's true. Good, that's right. So there is this short term, long term. How long does the brain remember things? Absolutely. But again, I want to just show a good example. Nadia, I'm not correcting you or saying you made a mistake here, but when Nadia says, I want to be very clear about summarizing and paraphrasing, right? When Nadia says, oh, this sentence shows that the brain is amazing. I agree. But that is a summary, right? Because that is not restating or saying specific things. That's basically, Nadia is saying to me, I understood what this was about and I can summarize the meaning of that sentence. But remember, a paraphrase is not just saying, oh, the brain is so amazing. In the paraphrase, you have to say, the brain is so amazing because, and then give me the specific reason that the author of this article gives. Now, Nadia, you did a great job there saying, remember, because you're right. Remember is clearly an important part of the meaning of this sentence because it's the verb, right? It's the verb of our sentence here. So I just wanted to use that example to show when Nadia says, the brain is amazing, great summary. The brain is amazing because, paraphrasing. I'm checking the chat now. Oh yeah, no, and I see some people are just saying why they're not communicating. You guys, you keep your video off, and if you can talk, you can talk. If you can't, it's all good. I just am trying to make sure I'm responding to you guys and what you need. So someone else, either when you're typing or when you're speaking, the brain remembers unfinished tasks and brings them to conscious recall frequently so they can be completed. Does someone want to either type in the chat or practice saying out loud? What is the author saying here?
Yeah, maybe it's when we, the author is trying to say that when we interrupt some activities that we are doing, maybe we can bring that later. We can bring that to our mind.
Okay.
And we can try to finish because our mind is remember that we didn't finish that.
So that part Reina said at the end there is really great, clear, right? I love what you said there, Reina. The brain remembers, right? Or the brain remembers that we didn't finish this thing, right? That perfect. Very, very nicely said. Very, very nicely said. Sheree is saying this is about the brain's function. Okay, I want to show you something here again. Now I'm going to go to our example here. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Again, I know it's hard. Like Layla was saying, it's hard, and it goes slow. So we're just paraphrasing one sentence at a time, but it's so important, so important.
We need to read and read.
I know.
And think about it.
It's really hard. Like I said, I just want to. Okay, so this is the original, right?
Yes.
Now, I just wanted to say, if people are, if you read this and then you were to say to me, okay, I'm going to paraphrase this, Jeff, what this sentence is saying is, wow, the brain does some amazing things. Okay, I will say that is true. It's clear that you understood the reading, but it's a bad paraphrase because it's too general, right? It's not explaining to me all of the specific information that was in that paraphrase. But if I say something like, the brain is amazing because it remembers the things that we have not finished, Now this is a paraphrase. And let's see if I can do my color coding here. Remembers unfinished tasks and brings them to conscious recall frequently. All of this is academic stuff, right? And again, if we need definitions, we can. But this is the idea, right? Like if what I'm highlighting here, if you're watching the recording with me, let's say what I'm highlighting in green here is the topic or the idea, right, of this sentence. I'd say if you summarize and say the brain does amazing things, you're still only talking about the green. You're still only talking about the main idea. But if you can say the brain is amazing because it remembers the things we have not finished, now this is an example of you're keeping this same idea that I'm putting in purple here. You're keeping the same meaning that we highlighted in purple, but you're putting it down here in your own words, right? So I'm trying to show the example, a potential example between a summary and a paraphrase. And Rafi says, our brain classified our uncompleted tasks. Good. Rafi in the chat just said, yeah, our brain classified our uncompleted tasks. Brain, uncompleted tasks, very important. Classified is a good word here, but this is another thing that I think sometimes students are so worried about. I'll say this, you guys. This is like the example last week of synonyms. We could look up a synonym for remember, right? Like, let's do that. I'm just curious.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
Oh. When we have not finished any work, our brain reminds us of this.
Ooh, very nice. Nadia giving us her paraphrase. I like it. Yeah, when we have not finished our work, and again, here we go. Unfinished becomes not finished. Tasks becomes work. That makes sense. Our brains remind us of this. We have brain brings them to conscious recall. Now, this is very academic, right? But recall is just a nice academic way of saying memory, right? To remember, to literally recall something to our brains. So here, Nadia has given us our brains remind us of this. Really nice, yeah. When we've not finished our work, our brains remind us of this, right? Great, 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 great. Does this slide make sense as an example? Again, I think it's just helpful to see examples and talk about them. Does this make a little more sense about the difference between summary, the brain's amazing, and paraphrase? The brain's amazing because when we don't complete a task, it will remind us. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep going then. We paraphrase one sentence. Maybe just for time, let's just do this. Let's just do these 2 sentences. Well, 3 sentences. So this task, 4 sentences, they're very short. The first one's short, huh? So this task doesn't go away. You're reminded of it frequently, and each time it consumes emotional energy. You also experience associated emotions like fear, anxiety, dread, shame, and so on each time. You might think you're avoiding it, but it's right there with you. I'm going to, in the chat, I'm going to put Nadia's great sentence that she paraphrased for us. So here's my suggestion. I'm going to give you 15 minutes, for real, 15 minutes by yourself. I want you to start a paragraph with that sentence that Nadia gave us, and then write, so that'll be the first sentence in your paraphrase. I'll put it in the slide to show you what I want here. So this is your first paragraph, right? And then what I want you to do is start a little mini short paragraph with this sentence that Nadia gave us, and then finish that paragraph by paraphrasing these things that I have in blue. When you're done, I'm going to give you 15 minutes. And then what I want is for people who feel comfortable to put their examples in the chat so that we can look at least 1 or 2 of your student examples. Make sense? Does it make sense what I want you to do right now? Okay, I'm going to leave this on the screen. It is 1:30. I'm going to mute myself. I might go get myself water too. So I'll be here. I can hear you if you need anything. But I'll give you 15 minutes and then I want to see some example paragraphs, okay? 15 minutes. I'll see you guys at 1:45. I'm going to zoom in even more too. There we go. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes.
Nice. Mhm. English.
I have a question. In chat, we can delete or add something. Excuse me, Professor. in chat we can add something or we delete some the word.
Yeah, I mean, I want you to just, this is not a right or wrong perfect time. You know what I mean? Like just put your best guess in there and then we'll look at it.
I think that made you tired and sad is not right. I think we can will lost you and you lost your energy and um, energy or I think this is better.
Tired and sad is good. I mean, it's interesting. We'll look at, I did see, so if you're still working, you've still got 4 more minutes. So I'll look at these. I'm going to kind of look at these
Okay.
quietly here. I want to make sure everybody has enough time.
Okay. Shame and so each time you are avoiding it. What is with him? This takes task now. Okay.
You still got 3 minutes, but I like what I'm saying in the chat. So again, if you're really nervous and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, look at some of your student examples. There's already some great examples in the chat. But again, I'm going to shut up. We'll talk more about it in 3 minutes. All right, let's take a look. Some really good ones already. I think I'm just going to copy these and put them in a Word doc like last week. It'll take too long to put it into PowerPoint. So while I'm doing this, anybody want to talk about it? How was it? Easy, hard? What? Anybody want to share just their feelings about doing it?
This recent sentence, I think it wasn't really hard.
Okay.
Yes, I think, I don't know. This is, I think.
But you, okay, I'm just laughing because you said it wasn't really hard, but then you were saying, but it's only because these, you feel like this was easier to paraphrase, these specific sentences maybe?
These three sentences, I think is easy.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add? Layla saying it was easy, but it's only because the sentences were easy. Anybody else want to add anything? And then we'll look at some of your examples. I see people in the chat. Thank you. I'm just organizing this so that we can read it in the document. Okay. All right, so we've got, I'll put this in Times New Roman. I try and make sure I show you guys everything in Times New Roman so it looks like college writing. Okay, and we'll go to paragraph. We'll do double space. It's gonna look at, these are your previewing your research papers that you will write someday. These beautiful MLA formatted paragraphs. Okay, Rafi says, when we have unfinished tasks, it causes a lot of pressure on our mind. This one says, what was the actual quote? The task doesn't go away. You're reminded of it frequently. Each time it consumes emotional energy. It causes a lot of pressure on our mind. I like that as a way to say consumes emotional energy. Layla, I'm going to mute you just because I can hear stuff in the background. This reminder gets a lot of our energy. When we have unfinished tasks, it causes a lot of pressure on our mind. Oh, this was, I think this was all of them. Good. Got it. Good. Okay, so Rafi, I don't think gave us the whole paragraph, but I do love this quote. When we have unfinished tasks, it causes a lot of pressure on our mind. The reminder gets a lot of our energy, right? Okay, so this was the one we did together. Great. All right, how about the tasks are these tasks, I'm gonna correct here. These tasks, either if it's tasks plural, it'd be these tasks or this task, but it's plural, right? So these tasks are unforgettable, and until we complete them, we will experience stress, fear, and embarrassment. In fact, we cannot ignore them. Great, really nice. You see me correcting sort of mechanics here. No, you don't need a space between a word and the period ever, you guys. And this could just be typos, but just in case people don't know. These tasks are unforgettable, and until we complete them, we will experience stress, fear, and embarrassment. In fact, we cannot ignore them. That's good. You might think I like ignore and avoiding, I think go together very nicely. I like that. I do like that. Great. How about Layla? Our dread, fear, anxiety, and shame are not go away from us. Bring reminder these things often. You try to forget them, but it's not successful. That make you tired and sad. Good. So Layla's got some grammar, some sentence structure stuff, but Layla, I think you got the meaning here really nicely, especially this last part here where she says, this is what I mean on this slide, you guys, where I say, remember, the job is in the paraphrase to clarify. I love sentences like this that Layla wrote where we say just explicitly, right? Oops, it's in the document. This makes you tired and sad, right? She's sort of saying, this happens, this happens, this happens. And that means, right, the result is, therefore, these are really good ways of showing the reader, me, that you understand the article, right? So our dread, fear, anxiety, and shame, and I'll just say, do not go away from us. We need a subject. They bring reminder these things often. You try to forget them, but it's not successful. That makes you tired and sad. Again, great paraphrase, some grammar stuff, but this to me is a great example of a sentence that makes sure that a paraphrase clarifies and not just summarizes. So really nice job there, Leila. Fawzia, in this task, we will face many emotions, such as anxiety, horror, fear, and many more. Oh, such horrible emotions. It's not going to disappear, even though if we think it is. Good. And we don't even need even though, Fawzia. We can just say, even if we think it is, we will be reminded every time. Really nice. And again, I'm just going to say, we could take Leila's great and add this to the end of Fawzia's, and Fawzia's would be even better, right? Because it's a way of saying this happens, this happens, this happens, and as a result, therefore, that makes you feel tired and sad. And this is definitely an important idea in these three sentences, because we have this feeling of emotional energy. You think you're avoiding it, but it's still there. There's something, again, that idea we talked about with the beginning quote, right? What are you watering? Even if you think that by procrastinating, Reina, or avoiding the work, you're watering the flowers, well, your brain is still thinking about that unfinished thing, right? You're still watering stress or fear or worry or anxiety. Really, really nice. Susanna, because unfinished tasks don't go away, fantastic. Again, if you ever are typing, you guys, and you see, it wasn't there, but if you see an underline, like there it is, there's a grammar error, it's only because in writing, Microsoft Word never wants you to use the contraction. So if we say do not, so that's not a spelling error. They're saying don't use the contraction in your essay. So because unfinished tasks do not go away, you can often remember these and use up your emotional energy. Very nice there, use up emotional energy. Each time you may feel emotions like fear, anxiety, dread, shame, etc. Even when you don't think of these unfinished tasks, it's still in your brain. Really nice. And I would say maybe even when you are not thinking, just adding some variety to the verb tenses, still it is in your brain. Really nice. Again, you guys are definitely getting the details in these sentences. Great. Reina, even if we're avoiding to forget it, and the longer we procrastinate, the more anxiety we will. This is fantastic, Reina. Even if we are avoiding to forget it, maybe I think we're trying to avoid or forget. The longer we procrastinate, the more anxiety we'll feel and we'll be emotionally exhausted. Reina, great sentence here. Sudaba, surely our brain works like a reminder to remember us to complete our, ooh, really nice. A reminder to, and we could just say our brain works like a reminder to remember. Make your life easy, Sudaba, and just say, remind. We can keep, sometimes the best verb is the simplest verb. Do you know what I mean? So surely our brain reminds us to complete our unfinished works. Good. Sudaba maybe didn't have time to finish again, like Leila's sentence, right? Explaining, right? Why is this important? Our brain reminds us to complete unfinished works. Okay, poop, so what, right? And I just want to keep saying, I keep using Leila's example because it's a good sentence. It's answering, so what, right? As a result. And by the way, it's not just Leila. Reina's got this about we will be emotionally exhausted. Susanna did this too. Use up your emotional energy, right? Again, we see lots of different examples of ways that you guys explained why this mattered, right? Like I said, you're clarifying. So Cherie says, this task doesn't take off. Doesn't take off. Doesn't take off. Doesn't go away. Doesn't take off. Tricky. Okay. It is alarmed regularly. It is alarmed regularly. This sounds like synonyms or translation to me. It is alarmed regularly. You are reminded. Yeah, I'm gonna put an X through this one, Cherie. And each time it ingests. Again, this is definitely synonyms or translation, right? Because consume we can use as a verb, like food. Consume is an academic way to say eat, right? I'm going to consume dinner tonight. very formal, right? But we're not talking about consuming food. So if you use an exact synonym, ingest is just about food, you guys. So again, I'm not picking on you, Cherie. This is all good. We're all learning. But I think these are examples of why translations or just using a thesaurus is not enough, right? Because if you in this sentence say consumes our energy, it's not saying it consumes our energy like a piece of pizza, right? We're not talking about consume like eating food. We're talking about consume like our resources, or we're using it in a different way than to eat. But ingest means to eat. As well as you share those times with those kinds of emotions like fear, concern, frightening. Maybe you think you can put it away, but and this is great though. I feel like this feels like Cherie's words, totally her own writing. Maybe you think you can put it away, but it's completely wrong. This feels much more natural and sort of casual way of writing, but the meaning is perfect, right? The meaning is exactly the same. Like, even if you think you're avoiding it, even when you feel like you're not thinking about it, your brain, something underneath subconsciously is still doing it. So I think that's a great example of a sentence. Yeah. Great. And then I see here's one from Nadia. You still have to do it. If you postpone the task, you spend more of your energy. When you think about unfinished work, you are anxious. Oh, you're anxious. Worry is a noun. Worried is an adjective. And all of these are adjectives, right? Anxious. You are anxious, adjective. Worried, adjective. Afraid, adjective. Ashamed, adjective. Yeah, this was Nadia's. Great. You still have to do it. You still have to do it. The task doesn't go away. You still have to do it. Okay, that makes sense. It still sounds a little bit awkward, but the rest of the sentences are really, really clear, really fantastic. Okay, great examples. So, okay, you just practiced this. We did a little bit of this together. We've got about 15 more minutes left of class. Let's talk about this. How are we feeling? What did you learn? What did you notice? What do we want to talk about here before we finish up? How can I help you guys? Do you want to just practice more? Like, what do you need?
Practice more.
A vote, one vote for practice more. Anybody else? Otherwise, we're going to go with Layla's idea. She's the only one who voted.
Oh, I don't understand the question.
I'm saying, okay, what did you notice doing this activity or looking at your other student examples? What do you still need help with? Or maybe, like Layla was saying, maybe you just need more practice. But are there questions I can answer before you just keep practicing? I can't tell who that is.
When we see other examples, it is good chance to more understanding.
Okay, good. Let's just do it. So we'll do fast. I won't give you guys 15 minutes. We'll go, or 15 minutes this time. So this will be a little bit faster, but let's just do one more time where I'll ask you to paraphrase. We'll look at it together. And then I'll talk to my doctor. Okay, let's see. Oh, my bad. This is in a PDF. What was the other paragraph I wanted you to paraphrase? Oh, let's keep going. Let's finish this section. Because this is like, again, we're getting ready. This is like an example. All of these paragraphs you guys did, right, that we looked at, these are like paragraphs where the author is saying, you know, above, these paragraphs up here, these are the problem or the challenge, right? And in this thing that I'll ask you to paraphrase here before we end class is the solution, right? So you're spending precious mental and emotional bandwidth with zero return. Choose to direct your attention to completing unpleasant jobs first. See how much lighter you feel after you eat the frog. And when you achieve something difficult, the sense of personal power carries over it into other areas of your life. Now, I'm going to give you this suggestion now. And again, we talked about this very briefly last week. You're going to get a lot more practice next week and after break. But I'll suggest, so when you start, will offer the solution. So you can start your paraphrase, I'll give you, right? Whatever. We're going to talk about reporting verbs soon here, but the author of the article suggests blah, 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 and finish this, right? Say, so before you paraphrase the solution here that I'm going to show you, one way that you use this in a paraphrase is to refer to the author. So you can say the author of the article suggests, or remember at the beginning I read to you, the name of the author is Dr. Pat Atchison. So you could say in MLA formatting, the author or Atchison, I think I spelled it wrong, A-I-T. C-A. So you could say Atchison suggests, the author of the article, or let's just even say the author, forget about this. The author suggests, says, claims. Atchison suggests, says, claims, and then finish that for me. So I'll give you 5 minutes for this one, much faster this time, okay? 5 minutes to finish this okay, 7 minutes, Layla, 7 minutes, finish this paraphrase, and then we'll finish up for today. And I'm here, I'll mute myself, but I'm here.
You're spending.
So we are starting from your spending precious mental and emotional bandwidth.
Yes.
Yep. And if you feel like you're repeating, choose whatever you want to do, Susan. If you feel like you already said that, you want to say it a different way, totally fine. But yes, that's what I'm suggesting. Include that idea if you didn't already. Could take another minute or so, finish up whatever you got, and then we'll look at some examples and then finish up for today. So another minute or two, finish up, and then put it in the chat if you want, and then we'll look at it together.
It's not complete, but I think 5 minutes is done.
Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Let's see. We got to look at examples.
It's not complete, but
good. Show me what you got. I'll put it in our Word document. I kind of like this. I've never done all the formatting in one big Word document. Usually I do it in the PowerPoint, but I like seeing, like, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 students examples. I think it's really cool.
Sir, would you please go back to your last slide?
Yeah. Which one?
The article.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Not this one. Yes.
I see 2 already in there. Very nice. Usudaba, the author suggests. Very nice. Thank you. I love it. I'm telling you guys, when you start, you're going to start doing it in the next 2 or 3 weeks here in this class. When you start writing, the author suggests, you're really doing American college writing now. It's like, that's like the most common sort of way to start a sentence. Blah, blah, blah argues. The author implies. Very, very college writing. Good. I've got 4. If you've got something, put it in the chat. I'm going to go back to the Word document in 1 more minute here. So we'll leave the article up. But if you've got something you want to look at from your own example, put it in the chat. Some good examples in here.
Suggest. I forgot to write suggest.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, I omit also the author suggests.
No, that's not a problem. That was an invitation, not a requirement that you would do it.
Yes, but it is nicely.
Like I said, Barbara, you'll get to do it a lot after spring break. Don't worry. All right, let's look at it. Oh, I see one more. I think I got one more in the chat. Yes. Okay. So here's our examples. That was it too. Okay, just in time. All right. So we've got first, I think we had Barbara, I saw in the chat. So Barbara says, make unpleasant job first because it's easier to make the other one and understand how much energy it takes. Good takes, I'm going to add. Good, I think, and we could say according to the author, article, whatever. We could also say the author suggests that one solution is, right? So again, all these phrases that you're seeing right now, you're gonna really, if you're going, Jeff, teach us, yes. And when you read Hyperfocus, you're gonna see lots of examples of this type of structure, not just structure for an article or a paragraph, right? But like, how do authors with this type of writing connect back to ideas or research articles or something? If you're saying, hey, I want to talk about this thing that I read, it's not my idea, but I want to show you how it connects to my idea. There's a lot of specific ways and sentence structures that you can use to do that. So the author suggests that one solution is, and then Barbara says, make unpleasant job first because it's easier to make the other one and understand how much energy it takes. Good. I'm going to change make to do. Do we ever make a job in the US at least? I don't think so. Make the work. Always do your work. Always do your work. Because it is easier to do other one and understand how much energy it takes. Really, I like this idea too about understand how much energy it takes. And again, Barbara did a very nice job here explaining, do the unpleasant job first. Even this is perfect, right? This is absolutely perfect paraphrasing. It's the same idea, different words. Perfect. Sudaba, the author suggests that in order to be successful, you must set long and difficult goals. Good. I like that. And I'd say not even just set, but I would add what I said to Barbara too, like, because in this paragraph here where she's like, choose to direct your attention to completing. So this word completing, she's not just saying, don't just set the goal. She's saying, do it. Just do it. You know what I mean? Just get it over with. So, but I really like that, Sudaba. Very nice.
Oh, thank you. I mean that we should, when we have a goal, we should target more higher than our goal. And when we have higher target from our goal, we can achieve our goal.
Good. And I'll ask this in the meaning of the article. Let's say that you have 3 goals. Okay, 3 goals. So what's the author saying? Do the easiest goal first or the hardest goal first?
Hardest.
And that's it, right? And I know you know that, Sudaba, but just again, like practicing, right? How are we saying this in our own words? How are we understanding the idea in an article and then putting it in our own words? So absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, when we want to catch the stars, we should target the moon.
Hey, I love that. Do you guys know that idiom? Ooh, nice. Shoot for the stars. Or what is it? I think it's the other way around because the moon is much closer than any star. But yeah, shoot for the stars. Even if you miss, you might land on the moon. So I love this is an idiom, at least a US idiom. I don't know if it's in other English countries. Shoot for the moon, go big, have a really big goal, because even if you don't get to the stars, you might land on the moon. The moon's pretty good. The moon's pretty good. Great, I'm gonna go fast through these last few just to make sure we finish on time and that I get to my appointment. So you have to do your unsuccessful job first. If you get it over, good. If you get it over with, you will see, you see how it is, you see how it feels comfortable. The author says, yeah. Good. Good. The only thing I would say,
what do you say before in vocabulary?
Yeah, I love it.
I use something.
Good, I love it. And I'd say unsuccessful, this is just not a great paraphrase because unsuccessful means you fail, right? And we're not talking about jobs that you fail at.
Maybe hard.
Exactly.
Your hard job or
difficult, your
job.
Whatever, right? Your hardest, biggest, most challenging, most difficult, whatever, right? Whatever. Yeah. And it is, and you see how it feels, and I'm going to just do feels as the verb there, not is. You see how it feels comfortable. Great. Reina, you are wasting valuable mental and emotional capacity with nothing in return. Focusing on finishing tasks that you have. Ooh, I'm going to give you the present perfect progressive there, Reina. Focus on finishing tasks that you have been putting off first. This way you will feel the weight off your, ooh, very nice. I'm gonna add a conjunction as well. And this way you will feel the weight off your shoulders. Really nice use of that idiom there too, Reina. And that's a good time to use your own idiom, Reina, because eat the frog, right? Like we were talking about, bite the bullet, eat the frog, weight off your shoulders, get it off your back, whatever, take it off your plate. We're all saying the same thing, right? Get it over with, do it, let it be done. And Fauzia, I know more people have the chat, but again, just for time, Fauzia will be the last one I read. Once we start with anything tough, ooh, good word, tough there, Fauzia, we gain a sense of personal control that we can apply to other aspects of your life. It is better to get to our focus and efforts on finishing the most difficult task. There's that most difficult task first. Once we've overcome that, we see how much lighter you are. And there's that weight off your shoulders. Really nice, you guys. Really, really nice. Really, really nice. So yeah, a lot of you guys, if you put examples in the document, can I ask, is it okay with you guys? Can I put this document in Canvas? Are you guys comfortable with that if I use your examples in Canvas?
Yes, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't want me to, email me or let me know later. Sometimes students feel uncomfortable sharing their own work. If you do, just let me know. But I think, like Barbara was saying, a few other people were saying, it's so helpful to see real student examples. It's why I don't have you buy a textbook. I think textbooks are nice, but they're not how we really talk, you know what I mean? So I will put this on Canvas, but if you look at this, if you look at these examples, you know, if you did part 1 and part 2, you basically just got real practice paraphrasing a serious paragraph, you know, from a real article, like in this kind of academic style. So, so hopefully you feel a little, of course, no one's perfect here, right? But hopefully you feel a little bit more like, I can do it, right? That's the first step to anything, is believing you can do it. And we've got some great examples. We've got some great examples here. Okay, before we finish, questions about paraphrasing, about anything?
We have homework for next week. No
I'm
homework.
not adding anything new in Canvas before spring break. So if you're done, like I said last week, if you want to go fast, Layla, read those the paragraph examples that are in Canvas. And the other thing I was thinking about this, what if people want to go fast? You're not going to get a grade for it, but just read an article or read something online and practice paraphrasing on your own time, right? So it's not for points, but if you are fast and you want to keep working, you guys can practice paraphrasing anytime, literally anytime with any English you see. You know what I mean?
I start Arab past I try to write paraphrasing.
How'd it go?
It's really hard.
It's hard. And I will say, I don't want to interrupt you, Layla, but it's easier to do with okay, a map is only one story. Arab past, American present is not fiction, right? It's a person's real life, but it is a little bit like creative writing. It's a little bit more like personal writing. Paraphrasing the vocabulary will be harder in academic, nonfiction, but it will be easier to paraphrase the meaning in like a newspaper article, right? It'd be like if I gave you a poem, right? And I was like, paraphrase this poem. It's like, oh my, that's impossible. It's impossible, right? Because creative writing is a different thing. But nonfiction, newspaper articles, if you're ever just go to CNN, or if you read the Sacramento Bee, anything you read in English, even the weather report, right? Anything that's facts and nonfiction, that'll be easier. That will be easier to practice than creative writing. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a good point, Layla. It's a really good point. So yeah, nothing new in Canvas. If you're not done with any lessons, please catch up. Like I said, I know I have to catch up, so I will. What else? And like I said, because I have to go to the doctor's appointment today, I can't meet with students after class. I'm so sorry, but please email me, text me. We can find a time to meet Friday or next week. So please do that. Please do that.
Thank you, Professor. Very interesting class, Bess.
Oh, Nadia, you enjoyed?
Yeah.
Good. It's good. This is the type of class I would like in person when we could teach face to face. I would call this like a lab day, right? Like I'll teach you things, but mostly I kind of make you sit and do it with me. It's harder to do online because if people don't want to do it, they just turn off the, they don't do it. But I agree, Nadia, sometimes the only way to learn is to do it. I can talk about it all I want, but sometimes you just got to sit down and try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Great. Well, if you have any, I have to be at my meeting or appointment at 2:30, but I can have a few minutes if you need anything. I see Cherie saying goodbye. Thank you, Cherie. I even just talking to you guys, I'll be tired after this, but I got some energy from you guys. So thank you. And Layla says, have a good one. So bye, you guys. I will see you next week. And if you need any help, I'll be here for a few more minutes.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop recording. Bye, Barbara.
How about Monday?
What time? Oh, hold on. Let me stop recording.
Okay, maybe after 12.
After 12? Hold on one second.
2:20 is perfect.